Hi, this is Mark Littleton, the minister of the Word for the Athens Church of Christ, with today's 3-minute sermon. In Psalm 16 in verse 6, the psalmist David writes these words. He says, "The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance." David describes his life as a beautiful garden. Now, if you know anything about gardening, and I know many of you do, you know that gardens take a lot of work. Now, I will tell you, I don't know the first thing about gardening. If you want to kill a plant, bring it to me, and I'll take care of that for you. I can kill it pretty quickly. I don't know anything about gardening, really, but I do know this much. I do know that if you're going to have a garden, it's going to require a lot of attention. It's going to require a lot of work. There are a lot of things that are going to happen if that garden is going to grow the way it should. It's got to have the right amount of water, the right amount of sunshine, the right amount of several different things. It's going to require some attention and some work if it's going to grow the way it should. Well, David describes his life that way. He describes his life as a beautiful garden. If you know anything about David's life, you know that there were some pretty difficult things David had to deal with in his life. Many of them brought on because of his own poor choices, but nonetheless, difficult things that David had to face. And so how could David look at his life and describe it as a pleasant place, as a beautiful inheritance, as a beautiful garden, when he had to go through all the difficulties he had to go through? Here's the reason. David knew that even in the midst of all of those difficulties and all of those hard things, God was working through them. God didn't necessarily cause some of those things, but God was using those things and working through those things in order to mold and shape David into the person God wanted him to be. That's why he could look at his life and say, in spite of the difficulties, in spite of the challenges, in spite of the trials and hard things that I'm facing, my life is a pleasant place. My life is a beautiful garden because God is working in the midst of it all to help me be who he wants me to be. So here's my challenge to you today, my friend. Can you view your life as a beautiful garden, as a pleasant place? It's only going to happen when you can come to view the difficulties and the trials and the hard things that you're facing as tools that God can use to help mold and shape you into the person he wants you to be. So that's my challenge to you today. How do you view the hard things that you're going through in your life right now? How do you view those trials? How do you view those difficult circumstances that you're facing? I hope that you'll view them today as instruments that God can use to mold and shape you into the person he wants you to be. But it's all going to depend on how you view them and how you respond to them. Lord willing, we'll see you again tomorrow for another 3-minute sermon. God bless.